everybody, if you're out there. I am on live, so I hope that you'll all come in soon. Hi, Katia. Glad to see you were able to come back. I'm just going to pop out the chat here so I can see it nice and big. I can't believe that I went through the whole class yesterday not realizing that there was no one else there but me. But at least I got good practice in. The more I'm practicing, the more I'm learning to get everything organized right and turned on right. And so hopefully from now on I'll have less little glitches and bloopers. I hope that some of the others are able to come back today too. Otherwise, I didn't have to put up last night's diagramming class. I haven't done that yet to get it up on the web. The replay. Thanks, Katia. Seems like every time I do a class or try and get a replay up, I learn something more. So this fall has been a really big learning experience with new programs and doing my own channel. I still don't have that all figured out yet, but I know with the break coming up, I'll have a lot of time to work on it. So, how have you been? Have you been working on any tatting this week or any designing? I hope that others are able to join us today. Oh, it is still only 10:02, isn't it? I decided I better really get in early today just to make sure everything was working. In thinking and tatting, wonderful. Is there any a particular design you're thinking about or tatting? You know, right now it's on my mind. I'm thinking about snowflakes. We have had snow here once already. It wasn't a lot, but you'll log early since it's supposed to be your me time. You mean right now? That's fine if you come back, in 10 minutes. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you have this time for you time. I have to say I really love being retired. It's been quite the kind of a chaotic life since I retired, but with my husband passing away and moving, I've moved from Colorado to Texas and back to Colorado again, and I believe now I'm in my permanent home, so I should say apartment, but it does feel like my home. I've been thinking about just all winter. I saw my snowflakes when I opened my cupboard this morning, so I thought I'll put on my snowflakes. I've been thinking pine trees and angels, and then I got to thinking, boy, our last class is coming up next week, and there'll be our winter break until I think the second week of January. I don't think I know. And so I'm been thinking we get back to class and there's Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day. One star design per technique. Oh my gosh, that's great, Katia. What a wonderful idea. And that'll just make your design. I do have, I've been rearranging my Pinterest board, so it's going to be easier for us to look at things. And I think I'm going to sneeze. Oh, come on, stop. My nose has been dripping all day. I think it's because I got the heat on now and I haven't run it only once for a short time before, and that was like a week ago when we had some snow, a bit of snow. Not even a quarter of an inch, but enough that it did cover all the surfaces and it looked pretty coming down. Oh, that's wonderful. And you know what? Maybe what we're doing today, too, because we're going to be talking about the snowflakes and how they're designed. And I also have a folder. I wasn't going to look at it today, but I will because it's ready. It's of star designs to give you just a couple ideas. We're going to kind of talk about them in relation to the elements and principles, and so maybe this will help your thought process going on. There's just so many possibilities. Have tried to pick kind of a sampling of, you know, different styles and ways that you can kind of make them own and learn what you do like best. And just doing a star study like that with different techniques is the wonderful way to really help you learn your own style. You may even have it now. It depends. Some people know, and some people have to. You know, I'm saying this, and then you're going to hear me repeat it over when everybody else is here. I really want to try designing with the treble stitch that Nanetta has. I'm actually going to show that today. That's something I haven't worked it with much, but it really, I think, is a neat look, and I really like it. I think the other one, do you have any particular techniques that are appealing to you right now that you want to learn? I just thought of a snowflake I want to show you. I am going to look for it just a minute because it's a really unique snowflake. I think I know where to find it. I had forgotten about it until we were just talking. Let's see. I can't even think of who designed it. It's one of the spiral type snowflakes that has Maltese tatting on the rings. So many! Yeah, that's hard to narrow it down sometimes. And I have updated the planning sheet that maybe can help start you in with, you know, just writing down which techniques you're thinking about the most, or write them down in order. And I'll show that at the beginning of class 2. I know there's so many things to learn. Let's see if I can find that snowflake. I am looking through my file right now. Oh, okay. You had to stop for a while. Yes, yeah. I've done that off and on through life too. Definitely had to. I'm so glad you're able to again now. And remember, I'm trying to think and talk at the same time. It doesn't always work. Where I put the snowflakes. And I've got to remember whose it was. I have too many different files. I'm going to really be spending time I keep saying that I'm going to organize, and I haven't, but I know that it's gotten to the point where I have to. And I don't think it's one that I put up on Etsy, or Etsy. No, I don't have an Etsy account that I put up on Pinterest yet. I hope I put it in my favorite designs folder, maybe. Oh, so you need French. Wow, that's hard, yeah. Unless there's, remember there are a lot of videos in the class YouTube channel, the online tatting classes YouTube channel. I'm just not finding the file I want, so. I know what I'll search for. Oh, that, yes, I bet a lot more. We'd have a lot more French tatters if they were in French. I guess I really hadn't thought of that. I know that there are languages that, that most of them are English, but I thought there were that maybe, France being such an old country and big, I hadn't realized. But I guess when I do online searches, I don't find them in French language. I just really hadn't thought of that. That makes it a lot harder than to share tatting. Okay, I have a list of snowflakes that I searched. Took me a little bit to get the spelling right in my search. Let's see if I can find it. We might have a real nice private lesson today, Katia. At least they can all watch it in the replay. Okay. Slow in responding's not a problem for me, but boy, that must be difficult to have to type in another language if you're not familiar enough with it. Well, I'm so glad then that we can do videos rather than just the chat box that we used to have, that Georgia always had for classes. It's wonderful to be able to relate this way. The only thing is it's harder to like discuss back and forth like we did. But that would be funny sometimes with everybody typing in so fast, and then all the questions and answers and everything would get kind of jumbled up. Yes. Oh my gosh, Georgia's done so much. It just kind of boggles the mind how much she knows about tatting and how much she's done, and just starting the internet tatting popularity. 2006. Oh, did you help Mimi? Wonderful. I can't remember if 2006 was a year that I was doing any tatting or involved in going to classes or anything. I don't think so, because I was working full-time for a short time for needle tatting. For a short time, yeah, our needle tatting class is supposed to be coming back soon. That'll be wonderful. But in 2005, I'd gone back to school in multimedia, so learning all the Adobe programs, Illustrator and Photoshop and web design and all of that. And yeah, it took me 4 years to get a 1-year certificate in it. Oh, you have my book? Oh my gosh, how wonderful. But boy, is it going to be changing. I keep saying that. It's back in 2012, I think, that Georgia really kind of promoted, get the redo of your book done, or the rewrite. And I have been working on it. It's just, that's another off and on thing, especially these last 5 years with all the moving and things. Wow! That surprises me that you have my book. Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. You have a couple students and a man too. That's great. Yeah, it's too bad. One of the things that years and years ago. Hello, Jess. Glad to have you join us. We haven't quite started class yet. Usually between 1 and 10 after, people tend to come in more, and so we're reading a little bit more today just because it's been just Caddy and I here. So, but we will get started in about another minute. But yeah, I was really working full time, and then I just didn't work on anything tatting, and during those years I just didn't work on my book at all. It's taken me well, let's get started. Even with the two of us, we'll have class and everybody else can watch the replay. So I think I'm very much more organized today. Oh, you sure can, Katia. All right, so we're going to start today. I've updated our project, the project plan sheet, and I have made a kind of a, it's almost a critique page, but it's really to find your own style because they kind of go together. Well, thanks, Jess. All right, so I'm going to put up two documents. The two that I sent you. And I'm going to pull up my copy so we can look at it. Oops, I got to move my chat box over a little to get my folder I'm using. I'm going to switch to the screen view now and open up my documents. Come on. Okay, here is mine. Oh, it's the PDF. I wish I could. Let's see. Oh, let me see if it opened up in my Adobe. I didn't think of that. I have my Adobe program. Well, always glitches. I'm still learning. Did I not share my screen yet? Oh yeah, I have my screen shared. I'm just going to have to open up a lot wider here so you can see the whole thing. I know, it doesn't matter. I can, there, pull the chat above that. As you can see, I changed the top a little, or maybe this could be new to you. The project name. Now, some of these things you don't have in the beginning, so just fill in what you start wherever works best for you, and fill in the name later. You could, like, say if it's a snowflake, just put snowflake and put it in pencil and put in the real name later. Your name and date, that's important because this sheet is a documentation if you start your sketch or diagram on this. You don't have to, but if you do, you really should have this stated because it's more documentation of your process. Processes can't be copyrighted, but this paper itself is. And then what you put on it would be your own version of this, and so it is copyrighted. And this, we're not talking official send in and get an official copyright, because that, just putting the copyright sign, and I was going to put it right here and I didn't, so just make your copyright, sign your name and date it. Just make that little circle with the C inside of it. This is, you can do a brainstorming list. A lot of people really like to start that way, and I think it's a good way. And then I'll often switch to mind mapping, and I forgot to find a sample of that. Mind mapping, maybe photos of something that have inspired you, printed image off the internet, though I don't, you just can maybe make one for your own use and not copy it. And it all can be added to the back side of the page. So here, brainstorming is just anything, even if it seems impractical. Sometimes far out things you think, this is crazy. Put them down anyway, because you never know. Something might come up and you'll think, oh my gosh, I could do something like that. And here's what I mentioned earlier, Katia. You can write down the techniques that you're thinking about using. And then project size, thread size, and brand. I added and brand there. The number of shuttles the pattern requires. Did I miss something? Oh, I did. Purpose and use. This is basically only to think about the function of the piece. Is it going to be just decorative, maybe framed on the wall, or, hanging on a mobile or something like that, or even a doily that, if you put it under something, it doesn't need to be cleaned that often. Or is it going to be, in which case, you could, like a lot of picots is wonderful. Oh, I didn't think of, Katia, you're so wonderful about thinking about things. You'll notice when I sent out the email, I did have my YouTube channel on there and my Pinterest link. So you're right, I should have needle on here. So I will put that on here. And we haven't talked about color yet in this class, and it doesn't come into play a lot in tatting, but it's a very interesting topic and can really help you. And so when we look at color, we might do that as a fun January. But better than the old random sketches, I find. Oh, I've got so many of those still. And that's the thing too. If you keep this in a handy place, so often you're doing something, maybe you're even in the shower and you think of something. If you don't write it down, even the next day you'll try and think of it. It's like, oh my gosh, what was that thought? I don't remember. Oh, I'm sorry, Jess, that's you saying that. Yes. And you forget all about it. So if you have something handy like this, you can get it right on there. So maybe keep these all paper clipped together in a place you can easily reach or something like that, or a file folder that you have. So that's what the purpose is, because like if you're going to put a whole bunch of picots on something that's going to be washed a lot, like on a bag or a shirt or something like that, you have to remember that you wouldn't be probably be tacking down all the picots, because if there's too many, that would take a long, long time. Some people would do it, yeah, certainly possible. But you might want to put fewer picots, or more. You can use the more picots, but just don't tack down the picots, any of them, so that they're all matching. And they'll just all have a little different look after they're washed. They might look a little less tidy. They might have shrunk just a little, not enough probably to notice. And they might have, what was I going to say? Oh, ruffled up a little, which is a nice look if it's a heavy piece of clothing. Or if it's not, if it's a lightweight like a blouse or something, you might just want to hand wash that piece so you can just lightly block it when you're done if it needs it. And the theme might be a holiday theme, might be for a class. Now for a particular, that could be the purpose and use also, but you could put that under theme. If you're teaching a class, maybe you're highlighting a specific technique or something. Oh, wonderful, Jess. You sound like a much more organized person than I am. So that's what the theme is too. You know, if you leave any of these blank, that's fine too. You use it for your own, personalize it in the way that works best for you. So I put down the possibility of 2 color schemes, like maybe it's a, what am I think of? A split complementary or an analogous or something like that. And pick your 3 the most prominent colors in the design, because it can be multicolored, and what I put over here is just multicolor. And when we do get to color, something we'll talk about is if you have a lot of colors in one article and how to work with those. Beads, the type, maybe they're bugle beads, maybe they're 2-hole beads, and or they're round, the brand, the size, and the quantity that are going to be needed. Now that's probably something that until you're into your prototype, you can plan ahead of time, but you won't know for sure until you get the final version done. The color name of the beads and the color number. Not all bead companies have a number for them, but some of them do. And then the bottom, notes and samples. I tend to have a lot of images that I've cut out of magazines. You could fill it later also. Yes, Katia. This is for use your preferred way. And it's simply for a beginner who's never designed, it can be a nice help for them to think of, to help them think of what they need to consider when they're doing a design. The back is plain, so again, you can take the bottom half. I've even taken, like I have a square of like graph paper and cut it and put it in the bottom back, and or I don't usually use a grid, but you could do that. A square grid like this, or a, oh, you can't see it yet, I'll show it in a minute. But you could cut did I say 1/4 inch? You can cut like a 3 or 4 inch square out of your grid paper and paste that on, well, probably not paste, adhere it with double-sided tape or paste it on. So that's this sheet. Now let me pull up the other sheet we're going to use today. Finding your style. Now, we used to do critiquing of samples. Oh, you like it a lot better? Thank you. Yeah, I'm really glad you like it better. I think it's simpler, and yet it has everything you need on it. Oh, I better write down the beads so I remember that. Or, not the beads, the needle tatting. Do I have one right here in front of me? Nope. I have to. You can hear me rattling paper around. I do have one right here. I'm just going to circle it with my red pen and put needle size. All right. So this, instead of doing talking about critiquing, which, I think comes to mind being critical of something. When I was going to school, it was always called positive critiquing. And it's more like saying, well, I think this would be better if that was changed to this, or if that was different in this way, or a different color, or whatever. But I think it's easier to not specifically critique that way. It's going to be easier for us to use this sheet, which will help you find your own style that you prefer. And when we look at the snowflakes, and today we'll look at them in terms of the elements and principles of design. So today we're going to look at a Pinterest board of some snowflakes, and I'm going to want you to pick the top 3 that you like, number 1, 2, and 3. And you're going to write the pattern name and the designer's name. And I have them linked so we can go to their pages. And you could copy the web address to keep for yourself if you'd like. Although 2 sites, at least one site we're going to today is Nanetta's, which we're going to look at a couple other things on hers too, but we will go to the sites. Write down what you like about it, and it's probably best to use as many of the element and principle terms, and we'll discuss how this when we in just a couple minutes when we look at the snowflakes. What do you like about it? And you could put down why. Over here, you could write any other notes, or maybe if I'll mention when we look at the snowflakes what you can put there. You don't care for this. I think I ought to say why, maybe. Why don't you care for it? What is it? Do you not like it have the number of picots or whatever? So this is the sheet we're going to use today. You can just listen, or you can even write on your sheet as you go if you were able to print it out before class. So we are going to go to Pinterest. Oops, I already have it up here. All right. Now, one of the things I'm doing that I hadn't done before, as I work in these folders to get them ready for class, I'm starting to make sure I use the word tatting instead of tatted, because tatted brings up, it's a word that's used a lot, like a person is tatted a lot. I mean, as far as tattoos. So I'm using the word tatting. And in front of each of them, I'm putting this underscore. That makes it come up first in the listing. Whenever you use an underscore in front of the name of a file, even in your own hard drive, yep, for tattoo, even in your own hard drive, if you put an underscore before the name, it'll come up above, in the top, even above the ones that start with numbers, and then you'll have the alphabet files by alphabet. So I'm putting that, so when we go in here, or you go in there, you'll see all my tatted information first compared to my personal boards that I like. Not that you can't look at those too, but it's easier to find these. It does, I realize I'm not happy with this, new all pins. I mean, I don't need that right in the front here, but they've added it, and I don't need a shopping list. But so here we start. This one does say 2020 fall, and that will be gone. This one actually has all the elements of principles of design. Can either of you think of any of them off your head before I pull up something? There's usually 5 to 7 elements. The board we're going to look at has a couple different ones, different fields, and I've said this before, I know, different fields and different businesses or fields of study have vary a little bit in what they put in each category. Color is one, yes. I'm going to open this up, but you can see the color right there. Oh, this isn't the right board, but it does have this one. Okay. Line. I usually put them in line. You have a lines first, and then comes shape and form. The shape is 2D, form is 3D. You've got texture. Space I don't usually put as an element, but like you see here, many artists and different people do, and sometimes it's particular to the field of study. Value too, a lot of people added into the principles rather than it being an element by itself. And I've started doing that too, because I got to thinking, value is different than color, but it is an element that you can change in different ways. I don't have principles on the right-hand side. Usually it's principles on the right-hand side. Oh, they're down below. So these are your elements, the building blocks, just like we have tatting elements. Now, scale, symmetry, yes. Now, scale and symmetry go down here in the principles. These are what you use to manipulate and arrange the elements in your design. Rhythm, yes, rhythm is one. And rhythm is not often listed in the principles as a main one. And the reason for that, and I'm putting together a new, I have a list, a paper, a document, but I want to put together a graphic document of them, like another one that I've used before. I usually put, instead of rhythm and also pattern, that is often in the principles, but the word, what I use is repetition. It's more common, and repetition is the beginning start for a pattern. You have to repeat things to get a pattern. And then a pattern, when you have it done, gives you rhythm, which can create movement and other things. And we'll be talking individually about each of these things too as we study. Proportion, usually scaling can come in there, or it can be one on its own. Contrast. Now, unity and variety, to me, those are outcomes of the principles. So, but these are the kind of words we're going to use today. So now I'm going to go and open up. Oh, this is the one. I think that has the, nope, that's not it either. Oh, this has got tatting elements. When we talk tatting elements, we're actually talking about the basic pieces that make it up, like a clover or a chain, a type of chain. Those are our basic, and a ring. Those are all our elements of tatting elements. The others are design elements. So let's go to our snowflakes. And these are the snowflakes. There's not a whole lot of them. It's not a big board. I've tried to get samples of different kinds. And this actually is not a tatted snowflake. This is the design. We'll look at that too at the end of looking at the snowflakes. I want you to look at all these snowflakes. Pick the ones, the three that you like the best, and put them on your the sheet, the Finding Your Style sheet. And what'll happen is you're going to start seeing that I like this much better, or I like this in this, like in snowflake number 2, I like it, but not in snowflake number 3. And the thing is, with the designer's name on that sheet, and even if you add a link, which would be good, you can add a link right to it. Well, that you'd have to do that on the computer, but or add a link in when you're in a folder for this type of thing, looking at different kind of a file like your sometimes I'm losing words lately. I'm going to take a quick drink of water. I'm not going to finish that sentence, but you'll start learning what you like and in which style of snowflakes you like it. And so we're going to talk about some of these right now. I've got a couple spiral ones in there. This is a really unique one, and this is the kind of way that you can really come up with an original design, because it's different than the majority of snowflakes. This little section, and then with a straight down, oh, I didn't say, this is Wanda's Naughty Thoughts. So you can always find these people by going to my Pinterest board and clicking on their snowflake. And this, to me, is just, I love it. It is so different. Almost looks to me like a windmill. I don't know what it looks like to you. You can just tell me if you want what you like about it and what you don't like, just in the chat box, and so we can have a little discussion about it. and maybe why you like it or don't like it. Right, yes, Jess, I never had either. I've seen some spiral ones, not with this unique design though, and it really, the negative spaces um, even are wonderful. So we talk positive space, that's the tatting itself, negative space, everything in between. And even this shape is interesting because it's not just a half circle shape. With these two pieces down here, it gives it the negative space a unique shape too. And the thing that does pull this together is that you've got chain creating like a half circle, a curve, arc, that's what I want, a half circle, but these chains in here too. The bottoms are different and the corners are different, but you've still got the shape of the arcs. So that's what takes and adds some consistency to your pattern. If you've got different things going on, especially sometimes if there's too much going on, you need to look at your repeated shapes. And here we've got repetition. And when I talk about it's this, if you line these side by side, and maybe even put a line in between them, I'm just saying this is a fantasy, lines mixed in with real tatting, but you would have a pattern. So repetition creates a pattern. And then rhythm. There is a lot of rhythm in this one. Mel Survey, she's really into music. She plays the organ and teaches, and she also teaches tatting. She designed a snowflake that I think her inspiration was a Bach piece. And when you think about music and design, and obviously rhythm, you think of music right away. So here you've got, this is kind of a straight, I can't sing, but like a la, just kind of a straight, and it's a little more of a geometric, you've got a little triangle angle here. But this, I want to talk about the texture of this whole piece here compared to the center. The tatting itself is closer together to some hidden music notes. Oh, it is, yes! Oh my gosh, the notes themselves. I hadn't even noticed that and thought of that. That's a wonderful observation, Katia. That's what we need to do when we design. It's a lot of associations. And it's about thinking about the little things that you could add in to make it unique, like this. It does look like a tatted note. But these give you more of a line, a visual line. The chain is a arc that's there. Like looking at the picots, you visually, our brains are set up so that we recognize common shapes that we've always known. Yeah, isn't it, Jess? Takes a minute for some of us to see. Oh, here, you can see it easier here with this one, because it's facing up. That's another thing. When you look at a pattern that you like, turn it around, look at it from all four sides. Even if it's symmetrical, balanced symmetrically like this one is, because like I happened to have, when Katia mentioned it, I had my eye in this area. And so I'm thinking, where is it? And then I saw, but looking up here, I can see it, my eye goes to it right away. So this is a better one maybe to look at, because these are seem a little denser than these. And I think it's the lighting on them. This one looks a little airier up here. But the whole piece looks fairly dense, which is, and denseness gives you the feel of texture, doesn't it? It's visual texture. Doesn't it look like it's a little heavier than even the straight line? A little heavier and thicker. You notice it first. So there's your emphasis on an area compared to just the straight line. Although this you do see readily because of the negative space in here. And you even see, you've got a little scallop in here. So the consistency is in all the scallops and the fact that it's the same size rings. And when it comes to I want to go back to repetition and pattern and movement. This looks like it's up high, light and airy, and like a da-da-da-da-da-da. Then this is a lower da, 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 da-da-da-da-da-da. See how where the sound is going larger and smaller and larger and smaller. And that even relates to math, too. There's a lot of math that you don't really think about if you're not a math person, although you can notice it in the shapes and in the repetition. Math, there's a lot of, what do you call them? Not formulas, but where you have, I still am having a problem with I should write some of these words down, because words that used to come to me easily are not coming to me easily anymore, mostly because I haven't used them very often. But that creates your rhythm and your movement, creating rhythm and repetition. All creates movement. You to me, I see the windmill going around, the spiral. But the other thing that you want to think about is in this design, because it's a little more complex, I think, it has the picots are all the same size, except notice the joining picots. This is to think about. I think that's true, or they wouldn't tat, yes. And so many of us are musical, too. I mean, if we don't even do music ourselves, we like music, and we, hear the beat and can feel the beat. Is for variety, you need variety. This obviously has a lot of variety. It has a simpler center, round, and then this goes off into protruding shapes. That adds variety. I've talked about why it works because of the consistency, and the other thing is it's interesting not only because the differences in the center, it's consistent also in some chains, and they are noticeable, that don't have picots on them. And you can see the arcs that don't have picots on them are more defined, the shape, than the ones that have the picots on them. And the more picots, the denser it looks. You squint, you see the skeleton basic shape of snowflakes. Yes, I haven't mentioned that, but it's something that a lot of quilters, that's how a lot of quilters will figure out their colors. They don't want the design on the fabric to see first, oh, the 6 lines, yes. It's almost like a polar grid for drawing a snowflake. That's how you would draw. You would have your polar grid for your guides, and then you start designing around it. That's so true. That's a great. It was great that you detail that you noticed, Jess. I hadn't even thought of that. That's what it takes, and it takes not just seeing things. We see things every day. We look outside, we see trees, we see flowers, we go on a walk, we even see flowers up close. But we don't actually look at the detail of the shapes and lines that make them up. And that's how you can start designing something. You look for the main shapes, and you look for the lines. And this is a perfect example to use for talking about the elements and principles of design. I think that's about it. Anything else you notice about it? Anything else? What you're seeing is wonderful. You both saw things that I didn't see. If not, you can think about this later. Let's go back. This one, beads. Here we've got a bead in the center, and it's a very simple outline. I think that the repetition of the arcs, chains in the center draw your eye after you see the button. But I think you see the arcs third, but they're a nice contrast then to the little pointed tops. These are the only rings, and so they really stand out. And again, when you look at something like this, the chains look circular, but the 6 points, if you go from one point to another, most people see the hexagon shape there too, because that's a familiar shape. Now some people think of it, look at it, a circle. It also is a circle outline. So nothing to add. Okay, well, you've added so much today already. And like I said, this is one of Vicki Clark's snowflakes. I just really should take you there to honor all of our designers who prepare so much for that. Notice she's got her first book. And I have the tree in a folder to look at. That's the most untypical tree I've seen. Are those twisted picots? On the last one, look at the tree closer. I've never seen one that has, most of them just have this center part, but the additional on the outside, I think just really, I know I can't find the snowflake again. I guess I better just close this. There's another button with a heart around it. There's just so many things we can do. I guess the snowflake was down farther. This is one of my favorite hearts. There's the ruffled heart. Well, there's her snowflake right there. I really dislike this, that when you click on it thinking you're going to get it larger, you get this Pinterest thing. I think they are. I think those are twisted picots. I know they are. They're twisted picots on the end. And doesn't that give it even a more pointed effect? Yes, yes. It's a wonderful observation there. Yeah. And I think especially since there's no picots that compete with it here, you just really, yeah, they really stick out and make wonderful peaks on the snowflake arms. Here's a more rounded, it's a flower bookmark, but it does have 6 points. There are rounded snowflakes, and you see a lot of tatted ones that don't have much as far as the arms, and those are natural in real falling from the sky snowflakes too. So let's go. We talked about that one. This one. Anybody know who you think this one is? I think that's what I was looking at. Yep, let's go there and see. I think it's Merrillese. Oh no, that's Shane Eberall's. Merrillese is the bigger one. Jane has all kinds of free patterns. Here's a different color one with beads in the center. Beads really add a lot to a design. So think about the negative space. Think about the shapes. Think about the density. Here's a nice contrast between the beads and the negative space, and also between the negative space and the denseness of the outside outline. When I look at this, I really don't think as much of the hexagon as kind of a circle, but of the circle, except for this beautiful center. They look icy. Yes, they do. We're spending a lot of time, and I'm not getting through all of them, but I want to get back to this. Is actually drawn on the computer with a special program. But it's a really, if you see things like that, they're a wonderful source of ideas for tatting. These are thicker. They could be long picots. They could a long picot that attaches maybe down here, or just a free picot. Picot could attach here. It's thicker than some of the lines. So I'm thinking, even if you did a chain up to here and did maybe, that twisted picot ring with a twisted picot on the end of it to get the tip, and then chain back down so you've got a thicker part in here. And this has so many shapes. She says that it's, let's go to her. She says that it's an app called Make-A-Flake. I don't know what date. Oh, this is a March 22, so maybe these are new programs. Make-A-Flake and Snow Creator are two sources for inspiration. This is an example she created using the app. Next week in the diagramming class, I'm going to show a new feature in the new Inkscape version that we can easily do this by doing just 1/2 of a section, and they've got now a dialog box where you can pick mirroring, but it doesn't only flip it to this side. Well, it does, so you get this whole arm, and then automatically we can make the whole thing. It's like people are making mandalas, and it's going to be real easy. And the interesting thing is, if you change even one little thing, it changes all of them all around. So, and now, here's Merrillese. Yarn player. Oh, texture. Is that where you cut it out of paper after? Oh, if you could, yes, you could do that manually using scissors. That's it exactly. Although this is a program that does it um, in a program online, so you're doing computer drawing. The base is the same. Yep. Oh, Jess and Katia, this just the two of you are making this such a wonderful, better class. This one, it's a butterfly. Think spring. We'll be thinking spring after next week, as far as tatting goes, because we start again in January. The texture contrast in this one, to me, is amazing. All this thick, added to the fact that she used a dark color. She used, it's surprisingly, it's a harmonious pattern, harmonious color scheme, because it's all in the violet, reddish type family. And so you've got a really dark, 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 dark pink and a really light, light pink. A lighter shade of basically the same color. The other thing that you'll notice, this one's in a much more, the tone of these are all kind of the same. It's a light pink, but it's not a bright light pink. And this is a darker pink or violet, or this one is in bright colors with a brighter lilac. The orange, it kind of stands out more, the butterfly does, because it's got colors that aren't harmonious, but they're go together. But the thing about this too is they're about the same tone. They're all the same brightness in a way. The butterfly a little more so. So let's go down to her. Oh, here's a nice, this reminds me of the one that had a twisted picot, because the picot is different than a normal one. This one is also different because it's a double picot. Those add a lot of difference. It makes this tip look really airy, which is consistent with the airy look of these picots. Light and fluffy. This flake is going to drift to the ground. It's not going to, it's not wet and heavy like it's going to, like your ice, you mentioned the ice crystal. Motifs have, and anything that's designed art has a mood to it. And this is a light, fluffy mood. I'm going to let you check out the rest of the snowflakes after this one. This again, you've got emphasis with the color. It also is very dense compared to the white openness of these. This, you get the pointy effect because of the plain chains with no picots on them that come right up to almost a point here. So you get the pointed effect, but then there's, this almost looks like a daisy picot on the end of it, I think. So wonderful contrast, and this really has a lot of contrast. A lot of people will use light blues. And this one has a circular center. I haven't talked about the medallions in here, so I guess I'll save that for another class. The way that medallions start and end. I want to show you, before we leave, I want to show you one other thing. So here's to your enjoyment to help you see what you like. Do you like snowflakes that are big and airy? Here's another spiral snowflake that's a little different. It's just a little bit, it's heavier looking than this one. And part of that's because it doesn't have picots. So it's amazing what a difference changing your picots. Yes, Jess. Yarn Player does wonderful things, and these colors are just untypical colors for a snowflake. But it just makes it wonderful. And of course, she dyes the yarns and the threads and sells them. Her threads are beautiful, and her colors in her variegated threads are beautiful. So she really knows a lot about color. She has a color background. But it's interesting the way this one worked out. She has used it as the core, not the core thread, the chain thread on some of these, and the variegated thread is running inside the white. It becomes the core thread inside the white, and every time it shows up, it just gives you a spot of one of the different color variations in there. That's so unique. And then all of them in the center. And these being denser and heavy in the center balance out with the whole outer edge. It's a symmetrical snowflake, but as far as balance, you've got an asymmetrical. No, you don't. You've got symmetrical because this balances out that on the opposite side. Snowflakes are always, they're not always symmetrical because that one we saw with the note spiral one. So check those out. Fill out for your exercise, your class exercise homework. Fill it out for the 3 full snowflakes. Fill it out for homework. Scan it, send it in. I'd love to get homework. I'm going to start posting homework right after, during the break. I'm going to get my website up to post the homework. To make it much easier for Pam, we're going to post homework in my site also, which is also called Suke Creates, but it's not, the website's not up yet. I want to show you Carolyn Grove's Springtime Snowflake was done kind of as a, Georgia did it in class, and the document is not finished. Oh, this version doesn't even have the snowflakes. I'll have to pull up one that's got the snowflakes. Let me pull up my Inkscape and show you one that let's see. I just want file open. Come on, file open. Nope, that's not the one. That's the Finding Your Style. Give me one more second here. This is also something you're going to be seeing some of when it's updated. This is a legend basing tatting symbols that you can use in your patterns, in diagramming. I remember. This is the legend for my tatting book. And you can see split rings are the ring with the slit through it. when you diagram Josephine rings. These are 3 different ways. The first one is the most common way I've seen people using. You always want your start and your end indicated. A Josephine chain is just a chain with that. I've lost my plain chain, but you'll be seeing that in the future as a handout. But here is Carolyn's Snowflake, and you can see, and it hasn't been put in place. We started, this is the sample I used for learning about using text in Inkscape. And I think there's one image that's not even on here. One image that's not even on here shows just this center part without. It shows where she started. And she added in small beads first. This reminds me of those, I think there were 5 of them. That Spiral Snowflake had something like this in it. Did I see something else come up? Last night class, yes, last night's class. And then she's taken and added in bigger beads. She did this for the online tatting class, and I think Georgia suggested to her, I'm not positive, to try different beads and, different sizes of beads. And so it came out in this version, and then here is her final version. It's beautiful. And look, these beads have like the crystal effect in them. I don't know what kind of beads they are, but, and it gives you a similar but different looks. I like all 3 of them. I think the pattern is for this one right here. And it's a pattern that is in the Georgia Sites files for the website. However, it's one that was in pieces. Some of her files, they're not made into a document. So they were on the web page, but not made into a document. So that's one of the things in redoing the website. What I was doing, and Dennis and Tammy have taken over now the website, so I have more time for my classes. And I'm going to do this one and then send it to Tammy. It'll be in a PDF that'll be available online as soon as I get it finished and as soon as Tammy and Dennis are settled down again. I'm not sure, I think they're still in Georgia, but I think they on Sunday changed the sites they were in to the second site in Georgia because of the hurricane. They had got out of Florida. So this is how you start. Most snowflakes start with some kind of a center. And there's about 3 basic styles, and we're not talking about those today because we are out of time. So I hope you enjoyed the class. I hope you have a really good week. Next week will be the last Thursday classes, both morning and afternoon, or an evening, or early and late, like I should call them. For some people, it's the middle of the night. So next week's our last class before winter break, and we'll start back the 2nd week of January. So I hope to see you next week, and I am going to, well, I was thinking I'd tell you bye so you could see me say goodbye with my face, but we're going to end it just this way, I think, because I have got to find my live streaming. And where'd my OBS software go? Oh well, I'm just going to end the class. All right, have a good one. My YouTube must be hanging around down below somewhere. This we'll look at next time. Hello, where are you? You hidden. I'm going to have to close all my documents here so I can find the YouTube screen. Oh, well, all those little glitches again. Here it is. All right. Bye for today. Enjoy your week.